This video was brought to you by Greenman Gaming. Click the link below for some great deals on some amazing games. It also helps support the channel. Have you ever tried playing a game that everyone loves and everyone raves about, but you just didn't get it? But you were really stubborn about that fact, and instead of dropping it, or maybe dropping it a few times, you wouldn't let it go, and you kept coming back to it, kept pushing through, kept bashing your head against the wall until eventually it cracked, and you understood what made this game so great. Well, I have quite a few games like that, which originally I didn't enjoy all too much, yet despite the fact I didn't like them at first, some of these are in my top 5 games of all time. Specifically the first one, and that is Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 it's the best Dark Souls. Hands down, it is the best Dark Souls. I love this game. It was the first Dark Souls I played in 2014, and back then I hated it. I despised this game. It was the Prepare to Die edition on PC, and I didn't own a controller, so it ran at 30 frames per second. It was an awful PC port, and that game is unplayable on mouse and keyboard. I am not even joking. It is the most abysmal experience on mouse and keyboard. It might as well be a challenge run. You know how people play this game on like potatoes and like a dance pad? Playing the original Dark Souls on mouse and keyboard, the Prepare to Die edition, it's harder. It's harder than all of them. I'm just saying that now. It was awful. I got to the Taurus demon, I couldn't beat him, and I just dropped the game there and then, and I was like, I don't like Dark Souls. I think it is overrated. I think it's shit. And I was in the camp of people who thought From Software are a bunch of hacks, and the game was just stupidly hard for no reason. Then in 2016, I got Dark Souls 3. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try this series again. And I played through it on mouse and keyboard again, but I loved Dark Souls 3. It became, at the time, I was like, this game is amazing. One of my favorite games. And then I was like, I want to play the other ones. I want to go back and play Dark Souls 1 again. And I did. Didn't really enjoy it still at first, but I kept pushing through, and eventually I saw that light. I get it. I saw what people were saying about Dark Souls 1, and it overshadowed Dark Souls 3 really quickly as soon as that happened. I think it was when I got to Anor Londo, which, yeah, I know that's like a pretty stereotypical area for everyone to say they love Dark Souls 1, but it is heavily talked about for a reason, right? So the first half of Dark Souls is just one of the most incredibly designed games of all time. It's clunky, don't get me wrong, and there are some moments where you die to some bullshit things, but it is still one of the only games where it feels like I'm actually exploring a world. Weirdly enough, I think Dark Souls 1 feels more like an open world than Elden Ring, if that makes sense. Like, Dark Souls 1 feels more lived in, and I don't know why. I think Dark Souls 1 is better than Elden Ring. That is probably a hot take, but this game means a lot to me. I even don't mind the second half that much, apart from Lost Izalith and the Bed of Chaos. That is objectively terrible. Like, yeah, there's some weird design decisions, and it was obvious they were rushed at that point, but man, I love this game. I love Dark Souls 1. It's probably one of my most replayed games of all time. I didn't get it at first, but yeah, if you're struggling to get into Dark Souls 1, just keep pushing through, man, and trust me, it's worth it. Now, the next game I want to talk about that I did not like at first is BioShock 1. This is another case where I got this game just because I wanted to see what everyone was raving about. You know, everyone was like, oh, BioShock is the most, like, beautiful looking game with the most immersive world. Rapture is absolutely incredible to explore, but it didn't do it for me. I was shit at it, I can't lie, at the time. Like, I was really bad at it. I kept dying over and over again, and I found the respawn mechanic very unsatisfying because there was no punishment to dying, really. You just kind of respawned in one of those pods and just went back to fighting whatever you were fighting, and I died pretty easily in that game. I think it took me about 7 attempts, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, I bought the original BioShock 1 on Steam, and over the time of me trying to get into it, the remaster had come out, and it had been like 4 years since the remaster had come out. That's how long it took me to get into BioShock 1, and I don't know what it was about it. Like, the gameplay's janky as hell, gunplay is not very satisfying, but yeah, people are right. Exploring Rapture, just seeing the environments, just getting immersed in it, thinking about what this world could have been like before everything went to shit and all the crackheads started roaming about. The plasmid mechanics was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I started to get to grips with how that works and experimenting a bit more. I think I was trying to play it like a Call of Duty game at the time, and obviously I wasn't enjoying it because you get heavily punished if you play it like a Call of Duty game. So I started experimenting a lot more with the different weapons and the plasmids, and it just started clicking with me, and I ended up having a really good time. I know it falls off near the end. It's kind of like Dark Souls 1 in that regard, but I was still having a good time by that point. And when I finished it, I was like, damn, that was a good ass game. And then I played BioShock 2 and I dropped that one like 6 hours in. Maybe I'll come back to BioShock 2. There's something about BioShock 2, man. I just don't enjoy BioShock 2. The next game I want to talk about is Alice Madness Returns. Now, if you know me, you know I'm into the whole like fucked up horror type games, and I find Alice in Wonderland to be kind of creepy. This is a bit of an obscure reference. Do you know Killer is Dead? That Suda51 game? That has like a really creepy Alice in Wonderland level, and it is probably one of my favorite levels in the game. It even has a fucked up spider looking boss fight. Horrible. Absolutely disgusting. It's creepy. And I played through that and I was like, I really want to play a messed up Alice in Wonderland game. And Alice Madness Returns was just sat there waiting to be played. And I did. I got to the steampunk world and I dropped it because I just wasn't feeling the gameplay. I wasn't enjoying the combat. I just didn't enjoy it. Like, I was like, man, this combat's jank as hell. This is shit. I'm gonna go back to playing like Devil May Cry or something. But it made me realize I was playing this game for completely the wrong reason, because the combat isn't really the main focus of Alice Madness Returns. It's the worlds, it's the horror, it's the atmosphere, it's even the story. And I ended up coming back to it after watching a video essay talking about it and the original game, which I still haven't played. And I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna push through this game. And once I got past the point where I got to originally in the steampunk world, I was hooked. I think I beat it in like 2 sittings, despite the fact it does kind of drag a bit when you get to the Red Queen, whatever the fuck castle, and the dollhouse area with those fucking sliding block puzzles. I hate sliding block puzzles. And the fact they didn't deter me from beating this game kind of goes to show how good it is. And it's a real shame we're never gonna see that sequel that was concepted by the director of this game, Alice Asylum. That would have been sick. I absolutely would love a modern interpretation of this Alice in Wonderland. But we're never going to get that because EA are a bunch of stingy dickheads, and they're just like, this is my IP to sit on and do absolutely nothing with, fucking twats. The last game I want to talk about, and this is probably the biggest one on this list for me personally, and that's Dragon's Dogma. Now, Dragon's Dogma has one of the worst beginnings of any RPG I've played. You get your heart stolen by some big red dragon and you just set out into the world. You get a bunch of people called pawns to like be your companions, and you just need to take this big Hydra's head to the main city area, and it is just incredibly dull and it is incredibly boring. And I dropped it. I actually played through the section about 4 times and I dropped it because as soon as you get to the city, it just kind of, it feels aimless. You're kind of like, well, what now? I don't really get what's going on in this game. But you gotta push through that point, because after that point, you really feel the openness of Dragon's Dogma. And it is one of the most open worlds you can play, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of hard to describe it. Like, it is the most like unconventional fantasy RPG out there, and I kind of love it for that. It's got really satisfying combat. It's got very fun classes you can play as. Probably some of the most fun classes you can play in any like action fantasy RPG, really. And I'd say Dragon's Dogma 2 is just the same when it comes to that. But like, there's so much freedom to this game. I don't know how to describe it. Like, this is just my way of being like, you should play Dragon's Dogma. I really want a Dragon's Dogma 2 DLC. If they announce a Dragon's Dogma 2 DLC while I'm editing this video, then fuck me, I guess. That's great. Thank you, Capcom. But I feel like they won't do that because Dragon's Dogma 2 wasn't like the most well-received game, despite the fact I think it was pretty good. It is a weird game, and I can't describe it. It's just really addictive once you get over that hurdle of the intro. And if you've been trying to get into Dragon's Dogma and that intro is just absolutely mind-numbingly boring to you, you gotta push through, man. Trust me, it is worth it. There are some games that I originally didn't enjoy, but have ended up becoming some of my favorite games of all time. Let me know in the comments of some that you couldn't get into at first, but ended up becoming some of your top 5, you know? Some games that you never thought you'd end up loving. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and if you're familiar with these videos, this is where I talk about Green Man Gaming. If you're interested in playing some of the games I spoke about today, like Dragon's Dogma for example, you should get it from Green Man Gaming. They do a lot of generous sales. You could probably get like any of the games I've spoken about today for really dirt cheap. It's definitely worth checking out. There'll be a link below if you want to buy some games to add to your backlog. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I just want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters, that being Finn Trashboat, Nintendo Pro, Profit, Pitstab, Bouncer Storm Productions, and Daniel Levchenko. And a huge thank you to my channel members, that being Bart TVDB6819, Puggyboy8529, Drift King 7763, Cat OXD, Randomness 7550, Nikki the Pro LP, Matt 2601, Kindly Bacon 18, One Stundy Gaming 340, Clinton Lake T5 C6X, Wentel, Swanky Pants 677, Adriel Low Young 8770, J-Rash, Shake the Heavens, Indisconcerted, NCR 8111, Courtney Williams DR9TB, Zello 007, On The Go Gaming 109, Eteria Meow Meow, Quack 29, Plates Fly 8362, Liam Talks About, Mashallah 4566, Marcus Platts, Joshua Whitford 5509, Evan Underhill 2342, Bidoo Fadoom, Gabriel Padro 5589, Scary 1407, Eggy 613, Riff King 66, Andrea Stewart 8871, Galaxy 11243, Glusky 36, Floaty 38, The Slopped Hog Within, L Hayes 117, also known as some Balding Guy Rambling Into the Void, Griefgar, and Resistance Line. Thank you guys so much for the support, I really appreciate it. And as per usual, I'll see you all in the next video.